Hey everyone, today I'm going to walk you through this resume checklist. Now, this checklist was created because I kept getting the same questions over and over again. And rather than, answering them one by one, I created, with the help of others, this checklist, which covers pretty much everything that you need to be aware of when creating your resume. And today I'm going to walk you through these points one by one. So the first point is we should check these two resources. These two resources are pretty helpful resources. One is a YouTube video explaining how to write your resume. It covers some very important points, so definitely check that out. And second is a link to a LinkedIn post where it's explained pretty much everything. It gives you a very nice example of how to write a resume. Okay, moving forward. So when you're done with that, next we will move on to your header. So in your header section, you should include your location, your LinkedIn profile, phone number, email in the header, right? And this is just an example screenshot of how you can include it. And I have also created these checkboxes. So whenever you are done, reading the resources, and if you see that you have included these bullet points in your header, then you can just mark it as complete. Next, your resume summary. So at the very top, people usually include their summary, and it should be at most 3-4 lines. It should not exceed 4 lines, and it should highlight your main achievements. It should not be a generic resume summary. It should highlight some very specific achievements in your career, and this is just an example summary that I've written over here. So it says, passionate and highly skilled project management professional with over 10 years of managing projects in e-commerce, healthcare, and finance. So it does a few things. It states your current profession, which is you are into project management. It tells how many years of experience you have, and it also highlights the kind of projects that you have handled in the past. And then moving on to your work history. So whenever you're mentioning or writing down your work history, you should be careful of these points, and we'll go over them one by one. And let's actually just take a look at your work history, how it looks, and how it should be written. So this section, which says work experience, this is generally your work history, where you mention the company name and the position you held at that company, the location, and the time duration of the amount of time you worked for that company. So whenever you're writing this work experience bullet points, we need to be careful about a few things. So your bullet point, it should always start with an action verb. So if it's a company that you've worked in the past, it should start with an action verb, for example, maintained. And then you should include specific hard skills in that bullet point as well. So if we are to complete that bullet point, it's going to be maintained 5 million budget for 7 departments using QuickBooks. And QuickBooks is an example. It's a tool which is highlighting your hard skills. And it could be anything, specific to your profession. This is just an example. And then moving on to impact matrix. So next you have to mention some numbers and percentages to quantify your impact matrix. And an example of that is maintained 50 million budget for 7 departments. So we have 2 numbers over here, 50 million and 7 departments. And then we move on to saying presented over 10 plus KPIs. And 10 plus KPIs is again an impact matrix that helped reduce budget by 10%. Again, this is also an impact matrix. So we've captured that as well. Next, we have to have an impact statement as well. That, for example, let's go back to this, maintained 50 million budget for 7 departments using QuickBooks and presented over 10 plus KPIs that helped reduce budget by 10%. That helped reduce budget. This is the impact that your efforts had in that particular example. So it reduced the budget. That's the main impact over here. And then finally, you have to have some soft skills in your bullet point as well. So in this, the soft skill is going to be that you did present these numbers to senior management. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that as well. So that signifies that you have presentation skills and you are able to present these budgeting numbers to a large group of senior management panel or like a board of directors, etc. And always remember that your work history should be at most 4 or 5 bullet points. Do not add more than 4 or 5 bullet points. As you can see in this example, every work history has 4 bullet points or 3 bullet points at most. So maximum you should go for 4 or 5. That's it. You should not exceed that, right? And as in when you go about these bullet points, keep on checking that everything that you've covered so far is true. And the bullet points for your work experience should not be generic. So every bullet point that you include in your work summary, it should signify all of these above points that we've just covered. It should never be a generic statement. An example of a generic statement is conducted daily stand-ups and managed the team. This should never be written inside your resume because it doesn't signify anything. It's a very generic point and it doesn't highlight any of your key strengths. Okay, moving on towards the bottom of your resume. So once you're done writing this work summary for all of the positions that you've held in the previous companies, then we can move on to the section at the bottom, which says your education and skills. So education and skills, you should include your degree that you've earned, the institution that you earned it from, etc. And then the certifications, if you have any project management related or any certifications that you've earned, you should include that as well. And this is very important. Your resume should be 1 to 2 pages. If it is going beyond 2 pages, then you have to figure out a way to reduce it. It should be maximum 2 pages. So you have to be sure of that. The bullet points for work experience, we've already covered that. So I'm going to remove it from here. And if you're switching job titles, this is a very specific point for people who are changing jobs. An example of that would be you were working as, let's say, a Scrum Master. No, that's going to be a very generic. Let's say like a senior developer, right? And then you want to change your domain from senior developer, you want to become a project manager. So in your past experience where you held the position of a senior developer, all you have to do is you have to say / project coordinator. And when you say this, you essentially are highlighting that you have experience of project coordinator, and you have experience in managing teams. You have experience in conducting stand-ups, managing budget. So that's the point that we are trying to highlight whenever you are switching your titles from one title to like a completely different title. So this is going to be conditionally applicable just in case you're switching titles and not otherwise. So this is it. This is the checklist that we have come up with, and it is a self-help checklist. You can, go over this checklist at your own pace, and this will help you create the resume in a proper format, in proper desired language, which will help you apply for different jobs properly. So yeah, that's all I wanted to cover for this video, and thank you all. Please do write your questions if you have any in the comment section. Thank you.